Today is Thursday, April 10th, 2025, and this is a meeting of the Senior Center Site Selection and Building Committee. This meeting will be held in person at the location provided on this notice. Members of the public are welcome to attend this meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and or participation via Zoom is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting or hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with a particular interest in a specified item on this agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. This meeting will be live on Zoom. The public may access the proceedings by joining Zoom meeting 375-414-6055 or by calling 929-205-6099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact Carly Antonellis, Assistant Town Manager at atm@ayer.ma.us or 978-772-8220, extension 100 prior to the meeting. I call us to order at 6:03 p.m. All right. Can I get a motion to either approve the agenda or amend it?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second. We're split again. Okay. Ken.
Aye.
Ellen. Aye. Linda. Aye. Dennis.
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Carolyn. All right. Dan.
Aye.
This is aye. Okay. Approval of outstanding minutes. I have actually just February 9th, or yeah, February 19th. I put the 21st and the 20th on just in case you had them.
Well, I think
the
that
time I submitted.
you might have gotten the 21st.
I got the,
Oh.
21st was on the. I got the 20.
Oh, I'm sorry, I just missed printing it out, sorry.
No, that's all right. I mean, if we can forego that, and I do not have the 20th, that was our last meeting.
Right, yeah, that's the last one.
Okay. Make a motion to approve the minutes of February 19th, 2025, as well as February 21st, 25.
Second. Roll call.
Aye.
Ellen. Aye. Linda. Aye. Dennis.
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Carolyn. And Dan.
Aye. And of course, thank you to Dennis for putting it together.
Yes.
A party, you're welcome.
Great. So that brings us to invoice recommendations for approval. Matt, are you officially recommending them for approval or am I?
Can't recommend it all.
Up to you. What is that? We have reviewed them and we recommend that they be approved. I don't know if you want
Okay.
to formally. I actually, as the chair, are able to make that motion this.
Nobody else can make it. I just typically don't make them, so.
I make a motion that we pay the invoices.
All right, so what we have here, hopefully everyone's had a chance to review is the first invoice from Catlin Architecture and the first one from Vertex for the beginning of schematic design. So there is a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Well, I'm sorry, Madam Chair. I see the Vertex
Discussion.
one. Oh, there's the cap. So we're gonna one motion for both?
I think we should do one at a time.
I do.
Okay, all right. Then do you want to
I
restate
will
your
amend
motion?
I will amend it to approve the invoice from Catlin Architecture.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'm good with it.
Okay, all right, then we'll do a roll call.
Aye.
Ellen?
Oh, wait,
Aye.
we should announce the amount.
Sure, $13,715.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Dan?
Aye.
Chair says aye. All right. John, you get paid.
So, and I move that we approve the invoice for Vertex OPM in the amount of $6,491.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Yes. And now I see it above, so it's for the month of March. Now, you're estimating that the months, when you go to, I see it's quantity, it's number one, and then you go to two, and then you go back to one for quantity. So are you indicating that it's gonna be twice as much work done next month? Is that the idea? It's a quantity of two in the second line. 2 times 12, but that's actually 4 times the 6491. Roughly.
Brian Jarvis, are you able to comment on how that's broken out, part of the fee proposal?
Yeah, that was for the fee proposal. That was a monthly fee, and we broke the March fee in half because we didn't really start till the middle part of March. We moved it to July to cover the remainder of this phase. So we had taken the fee, and I think what Dan and Katie reviewed, that fee was broken out on a monthly basis.
So the quantity in the first row should be 1/2,
Well,
and then, you know what I mean?
but it would actually be March, April and May and June, rather than 1, 2, 2, 1.
It should read 4 months if you just said it goes into July. Anyway, yeah, it's kind of confusing is what I'm getting at. The first
Yeah,
month,
so yeah, I hear what you're saying. Sorry about that.
we're only authorizing the 6491, so I guess we'd recommend that you amend the future ones to make it a little more clear.
But can we go into July?
Yeah. Do with that.
No,
Oh,
no,
yeah,
no, it's not into July, so if this
I thought you
one
said half
is half.
Yeah.
One should actually read March.
Yeah.
And then there will be 2 months, April and May, with the quantities of, with the amount of 12,000. And then June
that's
is,
somebody just said that. I understand what you're saying.
no,
He said it went into July.
That's what he said.
Yeah, so my bad. The half got put into the end of June because we have to close out the billing by the June 30th invoice. That's why we had done that. So the half of March went into the June line, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so it should read 1/2, 2, 1 and 1/2.
That's correct.
Is that?
Well,
Okay.
I mean, sure. I mean, yeah, we were looking at it as you got one payment at 64, 2 at 12, and 1 at 19. So originally when we broke it up, yes, it was kind of evenly distributed across the month. But I see what you're saying. We can have it reflect that if that makes it clearer.
Well, then I don't understand the 19,
That's 1.5 of 12.
but
Yeah, originally I think it was 5 equal payments of, 5 equal payments of 12, roughly. And we just broke March in half because we didn't have a full month of service, so we closed to June.
Okay, so I recommend we approve the 6491 and that Vertex clear up the next 3 months and then it's better.
Yeah, sorry about that. We'll take care of it.
Second,
Aye.
Aye.
I,
aye,
yeah,
Aye.
there, so that's aye.
Thank you.
Say through, please.
Fruit. Alrighty. That brings us to the design update from Catlin Architecture.
So I've been working diligently with our engineers, getting us all started. So design wise, nothing really has changed on the plans. There is the sink that is back in that activity room, one that's down on the first floor. But other than that, nothing's really changed. I'm just trying to finalize rooms, sizes, and everything like that.
The next phase he's working on is that he's got a structural grid for the columns. And we have a couple columns that are landing where we don't want them. So there's going to be a little bit of adjustment in the column layout that you see there on the drawing.
Yes.
And go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I was gonna dive into a little bit more with the geotech. information, but yeah, I've been working with the structural engineer trying to get all the columns. And we have a couple that are sitting in some odd spots, but I think we can easily get those adjusted. And then site wise, I placed the architectural site plan onto the topography plan that we got. I'm not sure exactly who the town sent out for that topography, but I placed that down there, and it seems like we got the borders of the property lot. I got a couple adjustments that need to be made, or we can try to adjust the lines a bit. But if you looked at the site plan that I gave you, you can notice that the parking lot off to the right by the exit is kind of like on the line, and then on to the other side, the pickleball court is kind of like right on the line.
Yeah, what he's getting to is that we'd like to enlarge the lot, frankly.
Yeah.
And we'd like to hear from Dan V as to whether we can add another maybe 15 feet to the width of the lot without causing any kind of consternation. If it is a problem, we'll redesign the parking lot and everything to get it over and find a new place for the pickleball courts. But we're a little bit tight, especially with the need for about 100 parking spaces, which we will use pretty quickly. So that's just it's not needed right now, but as our site engineer is just getting started, our civil, and we've discussed whether we can get another little extra width on the lot. I don't, since we're not paying for it, but there may be some issues there, Dan V, that you might know about. So let us know whether that's a possibility.
Yeah, as long as we still have proper access to our brush dump area, I don't, as long as that's taken care of, we can look at it a little closer, see what it would do.
Well, why don't you take a peek at it for us
Yeah.
and just get back to Dan and I,
Yeah.
so we can inform our civil engineer.
Okay.
That'll work.
Because we have a septic on site that we're going to be locating, and we have
Had it the last time.
pickleball courts and maybe some other outdoor activities. And one thing that we'll need is that we need to do a perk test. We're now in the season, I think, aren't we, for perk testing? Or do we have to wait a little bit more?
Do it
Dan,
now.
I'm not,
yeah, we'd like to do it now if we could. And we'd like to do it with our engineer present. We'll pay him to pour the bucket of water, save you that extra work. But we need a backhoe out there.
Yeah, we could coordinate.
John, can I ask on
Sure.
the east side? How close are you to the lot line on the east side? That's the side closest to the cemetery?
Right on. Notice.
Oh, I see. That's
Cemetery would be
yeah.
here.
yeah, that was just a line. Yeah.
That's
You can see the outline of the civil.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's basically a giant square.
Okay, so the answer to the question is we can adjust the size of the lot because we haven't brought the A&R plan to the town yet.
Okay.
But on top of that, you've got to check the site plan regulations because I don't think we allow parking maybe within 10 feet of the lot line anyway.
Yeah, that's why we want, we
Yeah.
have to redesign. We're well aware of that. We just need,
Okay,
either we redesign the thing and do less parking, or we widen the lot. And
I'll take that group of parking spaces right out.
Why? Don't take out the parking.
You won't need them.
oh, you must be
I
kidding.
think we should take it out.
This group right here?
Yes,
You need 100, you need a minimum of 100 spaces.
we need the spots, but
You won't
especially
have
lots and
enough.
stuff like that. So, no. So
Okay,
Dan,
that's
can
fine.
we add 10 feet on that other side?
We'll figure it out. That's easy.
Yeah, it shouldn't.
We'll
be
make
bad.
a proposal, if that's all right. We'll come
Yeah.
back with a suggested lot adjustment. If the
I-
town can go with it, that would be great.
Yeah,
Dan, my Dan will figure
Oh,
it
I
out.
was gonna say, I'll take a look at that site, see how much we really need,
Stay within that line.
and I can get back to you.
Move it soon or something.
yeah, reach me offline, Dan.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, could you at some point,
Seems to me.
if necessary, make some of the parking spaces, you know, subcompact only or compact car only or something in order to, you know,
One of the big things about this is when we first started this site plan, I did not have an exact property line for everything. So this is just something I've discovered this week. So I want to sit down and kind of like look at it a little bit more. I might be able to move, you know, change some angles and stuff like that to get it work. But if we can increase it another 10 feet or so, it would help.
So Dan, you're gonna take a look at that and give some feedback.
Yeah, I'm gonna dive into that, but
Oh, I'm sorry, I meant Dan Van Chapua.
Dan V.
Yeah, so let me coordinate with Dan A. Offline. We'll look at it and see what we can do.
yeah, we'll figure
right.
something out.
Yeah,
Thanks, guys.
And can D.
not if you're gonna cut parking.
And where's
The thing that's interesting is John told us we could do this on 2 acres, 2.5 acres, and we gave him 3 acres. So.
Well, I don't always tell the truth, you know.
Yeah, live and learn.
So I put it to 3 acres. People said it might be having too much space at 3 acres.
I said we should have 1.5.
But you were right.
I went out, I usually.
I said $420 million building, but like my ideas.
We should have listened to you. All right,
Okay.
all right, Dan A, any other updates with the,
Yeah, nothing else.
thank you, this is wonderful.
Oh, wait a minute, hold on. Dan, back to the first, putting the sink in the activity room, why don't you put the activity room sink on the inner wall like you do on the second floor?
Why?
The sink, wouldn't want to put it on an outside wall, is what I'm getting at.
Our walls are R40s.
I know, but why would you have it in 2 different places in 2 different activity rooms? Would it make
Well,
sense?
We'll look at it. Stacking is
well,
irrelevant at this scale.
Plumbing's underground anyways, if on the first floor, so.
Yeah, okay. Just, think weird.
Thank you for putting in the sink.
and
You're welcome.
the skylights above so those are. is
Those are
that-
those solar tubes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did add those into that. I forgot to mention that.
Those are cool.
Where are those?
On the roof.
And they wouldn't have any, I mean, they would be open,
It looks like.
they would be translucent all the time. They wouldn't have curtains
No,
or.
no,
They would have a damper system that you can shut off and be able to close them for whatever reasons, watching a movie.
or any kind of presentations.
Yeah.
The whole room can be darkened.
And is that done electronically
Yeah.
or
yeah.
electrically? Yeah, okay.
Sounds like they have electric.
You have to.
Oh, we want Katie up there on a ladder.
You get the long pole, you hold it, and it goes like
I was
that.
nominated.
Yeah, and then you
Jen to
twist it.
go up on the
We
roof.
gotta look at it.
I
This
got-
could be like
I got one of those on my skylights.
And the nice thing about these is that you can run events in that room without having any of the main lights on if you want, on a nice day. In fact, if you can you can find your way around on a full moon. I mean, they're very effective.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that when we all visited, we remarked on how light and bright and airy the buildings were. And when we took the seniors there, they all remarked the same thing. So I think it's cool. All right. So that brings us, anything else for design updates? All right, that brings us to any site updates. DNV, did you, or I don't know who wants to give that update as far as supplemental geotechnical and then the water design?
God, Dan, maybe want to take this one. Dan V, that is.
Who's got it?
Yeah, give me 1 second. Yeah, so supplemental geotechnical. So, one thing that came up through the architect through Catlin, was to potentially do what's called a passive shear wave velocity test. And basically what it is, it's a test that can be done above ground without touching the, without drilling. And we can find out if the soils can be reclassified. Right now, they're classified as an E as it relates to seismic. And if they could be reclassified to a D. And what that does is it makes it better for the structural engineer. So we don't have to have as strong of a structure. You know, I don't know what exactly it entails, but maybe thicker rebar, thicker concrete. I'm not sure.
More
A lot of
design.
moment connections in the steel.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of welding. It would actually save a considerable amount of money for the investment of trying to get it reclassified. I think it's what is it, $3,500 or?
So it's $3,800 through Hager Richter Geoscience. So we have contracted with them to do that work. So that's moving forward. They're scheduled for May 5th, and I'm just going to try to get them in any sooner as we can. But we moved with them quickly, and the geotech who helped us with the original geotech said he can review it for me and give me and let us know if it can be a D.
Do you need a motion from us to approve the expenditure for the 3,800 or not?
No, we don't, because it kind of still relates to that site work that we had made a motion for previously.
Oh, I see, yeah.
When we did the geotech, so it's kind of already covered under that motion we made.
Okay.
Is there any kind of safety, implication by changing the way you're doing this?
It's just going to be it's design. The structure is going to be needed to be designed completely different for the seismic for the soil E as opposed to D. So it's going to be more design work. When I was talking to the engineer, it's not necessarily more materials, but it's just going to be a lot more design work, a lot more testing, a lot more labor.
Let me correct that a little bit. There's quite a bit of welding involved. More and larger moment connections in the steel, which actually increases the weight of the steel. And excuse me, I've got a little something in my throat. And also the foundations have to be considerably beefed up in order to deal with movement. And although the soils will not liquefy, according to the geotech engineer, we can get a fair amount of movement in the soil. That's why we want to classify. We want to see whether we can reclassify, which will change the overall cost for this. It's not so much the design work as it is the moment connections, although there is more design work.
I mean, I have a real basic question on
It
this.
has to do with earthquake protection, seismic.
Yeah, okay, so, I mean, you say you're gonna reclassify it, I mean, does that mean that you have to inspect it more
Efficiently.
carefully and make sure that it, or, you know, what's involved in the reclassification? I mean,
It's just the way we do this. The reclassification changes it from a soil that might be considered affected by a earthquake, since we're in an earthquake, I think 3 zone. And if it's reclassified and it's legitimately reclassified, it allows us to design it with normal steel and foundations, or at least reasonably normal. But right now with the E classification, it creates quite a bit of issues required by code.
yeah, I mean, yeah, you explained that, but.
Because we took the steps, this was a house lot, this would never come up. Because we took the steps, be cautious and did borings and so forth to get a classification from the geotech.
Okay,
So he comes with classification.
okay, so it comes with a classification, but,
So we're trying to make the classification a little clearer.
and can you, I mean,
You can build it the way it is, but.
yes,
Yeah,
but,
trying to save
I
us
mean,
some money.
yeah, I understand that. But the question is, how can the reclassification just change?
Because.
So I can.
It's
Go ahead.
much nice.
Go ahead.
It's precision of the testing.
The precision.
The precision of the testing. The borings give you one result. This is-
Right.
This is trying to change the result in our favor because it's more technical.
Oh, I see.
I think that's.
Right. We only know so much from the borings we did,
Mhm.
so this will give us more information to be able to better classify.
It's like a sonogram. They make a little, they send sound waves down into the ground and it comes back telling them how the soil reacts.
Oh,
Basically, it's kind of a simplified way of looking at it.
So, and so to be able to reclassify it to D will allow somewhat less expensive construction, but the structural integrity of the building will not be compromised. Correct.
Well, if it was, we wouldn't be allowed to do it.
No, I understand. I
I mean,
understand.
I don't want
just
this thing
wanna- I
falling
just wanna
down.
be- I just want to be explicit on that point
There's no,
to alleviate some anxieties.
no, exactly.
That is, there's no compromising on the structural integrity by reclassification, because we are confident that the persons doing the reclassification have the professional integrity to tell us the truth.
Oh, my God, yes.
It's a geotechnical engineer. That's their specialty.
Okay.
Question, Dan, I saw the proposal and whatnot, but we're specifically talking about this process being done in the area of the building. Is that the case, or are they gonna do the whole site or more than just the building? Do we even know? I don't know.
So he allotted for, I guess, what's called 4 transects. So we haven't identified exactly where to do those, but obviously we're gonna do them near the building, I would imagine.
And the soil from the borings is quite uniform. So
Yeah.
whatever they come up with is going to be pretty much for the whole area.
Okay.
And Dan, did you want to give an update on the water design and cost estimation?
Sure. Yeah, so my engineering division, Matt Hernan and Delaney, have continued with the in-house water design. And they have a preliminary design set. They have plans for it. And our next step, which we're engaging in, is an application to Pan Am for the railroad crossing. And so that'll involve a little bit of cost. We have to pay for the permit, and then there will be requirements to do borings on either side of the railroad. So we're getting a cost for that. And so there'll be some minimal costs there. And we did put together a preliminary estimate to go with the preliminary design. And the estimate is a little over 700,000. Now, there's a couple things. One is about 100,000 of that is stormwater improvements we're planning to do while we're out there on Bishop Road, because we have issues over there. So that wouldn't come out of the project budget. That would be DPW stormwater budget. And then the difference kind of between the initial cost estimate I put together, which was high level, and the preliminary design, is we've taken the water main all the way down to Park Street. And not just to where it extends to right now on Bishop Road. And that's because the existing water main out there is a 6-inch water main. It's asbestos cement pipe. So it really ought to be replaced while we're doing this anyways. So that's probably why it's a little higher than the initial estimate I had. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Are we gonna be responsible for the whole, all the way to Park Street or only to the tracks? To where the existing pipe is? Shouldn't we
I
get a
did-
break, because we're not responsible for your poor pipe that goes from there to this Park Street?
Well, I'd include it in the project for now. And then
Oh,
if we're
yeah.
in some bind, maybe there's a way we could use water funds, because we wouldn't touch this main right now if this
exactly.
project weren't coming along, but
That's the logic, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought the estimate was good, thanks a lot of work there.
Yes.
And the drawing.
I think the waterfront should pay for the whole project because they need to get it to our building.
You
We can start there.
never know.
And then,
Yeah, but it's fun.
Dan, last update for you, did you want to let everybody know about the NEPA meeting rescheduling?
Oh,
Yeah, so I had a meeting set with MEPA, just a consultation today, but it got canceled because the person I was going to meet with was unavailable. And so that's postponed. I can't meet with them again until May 8th. But it's what we're trying to do is find out what exactly is needed for permitting, because we may need to do an environmental impact report because we're within an environmental justice community or environmental justice boundary. So that's what we're trying to get a hold of, because that could come with a cost to it.
Thank you for looking into that. All right. We're zooming through the agenda tonight. I like it.
So, I mean, I have a question about the environmental justice.
Oh, my God.
It's, it seems like, there's nobody out there, so how can we?
The mapping, it's already mapped. That's the problem.
It's mapped and it's like townwide.
854 people live in that map section of town, within that. And we're way on one side and the other side is West Main Street, something like that. That's a very unfair approach. That's been done by the federal and state government. So that's weird.
EPA is going away pretty soon anyway, don't worry about it.
We're just hoping.
Any update on the electrical or National Grid?
Nothing great. They've switched designers on us. And so now I'm in touch with someone else over there. So it's slow going, but I'm trying to get a hold of exactly where they're at and when we're getting it. I just actually was communicating with them today.
Any word on the fence, on the gate?
Yeah, that's the wild.
That's it.
Yeah.
Lots.
That one also, we had a meeting. It was going to be last week, and then it got postponed through Devon's and with Devon's and Fish and Wildlife. So that has not been rescheduled to TBD. So I'll get back to you on that.
How does anybody get anything done? Amazing.
Don't get me started.
Welcome to the government. I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Yeah, exactly. They call it the worst 8 words in development, something like that.
After my coffee break, my vacation and my siesta, we'll talk.
So I think that brings us, Matt.
Okay, sure. I did have a couple of handouts and I wanted to make sure everybody got one. This set things in the middle here. Did everybody get one or should I?
I didn't.
hand it out? These are a slide from our last meeting that I'll touch on briefly. But VIP is our acronym for vendor invoice packet. And so we wanted to introduce you to some of the pieces of this that you should be expecting to receive from each month. And so I'll just create a second for everybody to make sure we have all the exhibits here and I go through.
The VIP vendor.
Vendor invoice.
Did you already get this one?
Vendor invoice package.
That is these two.
It's like that word.
So you'll see all of these look like financial spreadsheets, and that is because they are. The vendor invoice package is something that,
Everybody have them?
oh, sorry. I'll hold on a
Anybody else
second.
need 'em?
Well, I'm gonna start my spiel.
Here.
Dan, sorry, I don't have electronic copies of these.
I'll give you those.
I'll scan them and get a copy. Okay, so
Sure.
Okay.
I can also just email them to you.
Yes.
Over Ben's. So the vendor invoice package is something that we prepare for the town each month. And it includes all of the invoices from the previous month as one collection. So they're all in one place. You can approve them on a single warrant. We do that to simplify the process that we underwent earlier this evening with presentation of invoices for approvals. Make it simplified on a single warrant. The kinds of information that we'll report on this are any changes, any new commitments or contracts that we've entered into or extensions of purchase orders. And we'll organize it in a table that looks like this here, where all of the line items, all of the commitments on the entire project have a financial status of what's been committed to date, what contracts we have in place, what's been spent to date. And then in the columns K and L over sort of off to page right, you'll see what is left to spend, what is left uncommitted on the project. We organize it in this way as a sort of financial health big picture of the entire project. It also reports sort of towards the bottom what contingencies we have. They're not currently committed to anything in particular, but are there sort of as a safety valve in case anything should go over, or there's something elective that we may have, like, you know, a geotechnical passive wave shear velocity test or something that we want to electively do in the interest of furthering the design team's efforts or things of that nature. So the packet contains, and we're still sort of working to assemble that, but it contains a list of all the contracts and commitments. So for now, that is Vertex and Catlin. But if there are other consultants that we have commitments to, we can add them to the list and report them out here on the overall spreadsheet. We also have a list of all of the expenditures to date. That's the full list of all of the invoices paid on the project.
What does PTD stand for?
Sorry?
PTD?
Paid to date.
Paid today.
Paid to date.
Yes. But we just wanted to give you an idea of the level of financial reporting that we will be doing going forward, making sure that you know where all of the funds are on the project.
And can I ask you, and who at our end will be working with these documents? Will it be Katie or the accounting office or the town treasurer, or how does that work?
So,
We can set up the distribution any way you'd like.
I mean, makes sense, we can do it, and obviously it needs to go to accounting, so if you wanna send it directly there through me, either one is fine. I can touch base with the accountant and see how she wants it.
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be great, Katie.
What was the question again? Yeah,
That at the town side of this, I'm assuming that somebody in accounting or the town treasurer, in order to kind of get the heads up on what's gonna be allocated in the, because we don't physically write the checks. I think that comes from the town accountant.
but we're gonna approve the bills.
Yeah.
Right here.
Right.
They're basically summarizing work that's been put in place and how much work is left to be done. But the bills are gonna come
Yes.
across here.
Yes, so they're gonna get, this committee will authorize payment of them, and then for any one individual one, to date, what has been required is me sending the town accountant an email that says, I authorize the payment of this contingent upon approval from the grant administrator for the housing choice grant, and then Alicia pops into the same email and says, and Dan, if it's relevant for the work completed, and then it goes in. So I just want to check in with Carrie to see if that's the process she would still like, or if she would like to streamline it further as we get into a more active phase of the project.
And my concern is that, you know, as these things come fast and furious, hopefully, God willing, that be moving smoothly and quickly, and that things aren't getting hung up for 10 days because somebody's on vacation, or, you know, somebody put it at the bottom of the pile, or whatever.
Well, so for clarification purposes, my major question was gonna be, what day of the month do you do this on? Does your company do this periodically on a certain piece of the day of the month, like the 15th or something like that?
Yeah.
It may not tie into what your question.
We can make it
When we get
land
to
in the
construction,
month.
we're gonna get a bill once a month from the general contract.
Yeah, we try to do it
For all those subcontract items, and we're gonna hold out 5% or 10% or something.
for retainage, yes.
Retainage.
Absolutely. So we can have it ready for whenever in the month makes sense to have it prepared and in the meeting packet for
So I can,
this meeting.
we can talk about.
Usually we start them early in the month to try to get ahead of things.
But to cover your concern, they will not get paid promptly. There'll be a period when it comes through us. The architect has to sign off. There'll be a
For construction reps, yeah.
see, and could take 30 to 60 days for somebody to get paid. And they know that. That's typically the way it goes.
And the
Except for John, he has to get paid promptly.
Yeah, of course. Let me tell you though, there is a requirement in the specs and in the state level legislation that the contractor has to be paid within a certain time frame, which I think is 30 days after the invoice. But I know that Vertex is on top of this. We review these things very quickly. We do it in the field because we'll be doing site meetings when the pencil rec comes in, we review it between ourselves and the OPM. And then if there's any adjustments, we'll inform the contractor, and then it'll finalize a pay request that comes to us to be approved, and the committee can review it, but it gets approved by the architect and the OPM.
Yeah, so I'll add to that. This process, we adjust this process to meet the town's process for the warrants and everything. So the goal is that we collect everything on a monthly basis. We bring it to this committee to get approved, and we've had that aligned with whatever the town needs on their end to actually issue the warrants. To John's point, when we get to construction, we also modify the payment application process with the contractor to fit into this process. So the goal is that when you're in construction, this package will have everything you have financially related to the project for the month, gets approved, goes to town finance, and we meet all the requirements for turnaround time.
The whole works is itemized. They're like maybe 15 or 20 pages.
Yeah, that way you're not getting multiple invoices, multiple days.
Yeah.
We review everything with John, we review everything with Dan and Katie, and get it to your, recommend for approval. It streamlines everything. And it comes out on a monthly basis, typically the second week, so we can meet the first meeting of the month with the building committee to get it approved, and then our team will reconcile with town finance. Just, get copies of the warrants and just make sure everything got paid and they tie out.
That should work out well, because we process every other Wednesday, so.
Yep.
Yeah, sounds good.
So let's see, the other item that I had here is a slide that we had presented at our last meeting. I just wanted to talk about this as just part of the update. We've been working with Catlin on formalizing a work plan as they're working and developing their design, and wanted to just provide this again as part of a just sort of an upcoming sort of what's coming up for future meetings. Just wanted to provide that. Just as a forecasting tool, let everybody know what was coming up. So I just wanted to have that as a reminder for the group. And that, oh dear, sorry about that. Sorry folks on mine, that probably was loud.
Just in terms of I just noted that for the April 20, in a couple of weeks,
Mhm.
fiber. I don't, what have we done in terms of fiber or getting broadband to the site, or how is that gonna work?
Sorry, what?
Go ahead.
No, I know that there's nothing going down the street now, and there's nothing on the lot. And how are we gonna get there? I don't know if fiber is available, or whether it have to be
We have to reach out to Comcast Business.
It would run with the electric power as it comes over, and then it will go underground to the building. But that really is an issue that we'll be bringing up really during CDs. And certainly Dan V and the town needs to be thinking about that. I think it's a good question. We probably won't be addressing it for,
Yeah, we have it.
until after
We have it as
town
an item
meeting.
on our working group minutes.
We do.
All the utility connections to the building.
I'm sorry, I missed that, Brian.
We have it as an item in the working group.
Our bi-weekly working group meetings, one of the things we track are all the permanent utility connections to the building, making sure we have all the design and everything gets lined up. So as we get more information on that, we can present. Fiber and internet connection is one of those items that we're tracking.
Oh, okay. All right.
Anything else?
Not for me. Is there any further questions?
And
In a general sense. John, have you heard anything more about costs going down versus going up or anything like that in the last couple of weeks? I know steel is going down, so. And copper.
You
went way
didn't hear my laugh, did you?
You're muted, John.
I'm just watching the market right now.
down.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty competitive market according to my cost estimator. I think people are getting nervous, the contractors. They really want to build up their dance card. But, it's just too bad we're pushing out to maybe an early spring bid, but I think it'll be pretty positive right now. That's, Brian can comment on, you guys have a lot on the, going right now, and you might have some other thoughts.
No, we agree. We think it's going to be, a competitive environment. We actually have a couple things opening in the next few months. It'll be interesting. One thing we will need to talk about when we get to the front end, though, is the language that we have in the contract related to tariffs. There's a couple different ways to handle that, but that's something we can get to when we get a bid set together.
Who knows? Maybe there won't be any tariffs.
Yeah, there might not be by that time.
Can't
Maybe
figure
there
out what the hell is going on.
The one thing you said is correct. You can't figure out what the hell's going on. That's for sure.
Alrighty. I don't think we have any public on with us, so no public input. Our next meeting is the 24th, right? Yep. 24th, 6 p.m. here.
This talks about town board engagement with planning board and conservation. Is that because you're gonna try to do that by the 24th or plan it by the 24th?
Part of the plan for engaging with those boards and commissions is that we want to have informational pre-meetings with them. So that when we do go before them for formal approval of the finished design, they're not seeing it for the first time, and we've gotten anything that would have presented perhaps a stumbling block addressed with them, so that the hope would be to really get ahead of anything that they may have to say that they might want changed. If we can get an initial round of feedback incorporated into the design, and then show them something that's already kind of addressed some of the concerns that perhaps they would have, we think that we can streamline the approvals process that way.
So
Yeah, I may have missed that question. Was that planning board, zoning, and building department?
Yes.
Yeah, we always go in informally to them quite early, just like Matthew was saying. We'd like to go in even probably. I'd wait till after town meeting to make sure we're going ahead. But once we know that, we'll bring in our schematic set and sit down with both zoning, planning, and building department.
So when is town meeting?
You talking about the
Town
springtime? You
meeting.
talking about a springtime meeting? When's it coming up?
Oh, he's talking about October.
I think you started about October 27th.
Well, if he
After
wants
that,
to get
just
in
make
there
sure it goes
early,
ahead.
why would he wait until October?
Because the project isn't
Just-
set to go ahead. If it doesn't go ahead, wasting a lot of time with it. Also, it's just schematic design. We really start going into them in the DD phase, but I'd like to get in certainly with the schematics. Once we get a DD approved to go ahead, we'd be in front of them right away. We don't want to revisit a lot of this stuff. If they have an issue, right now, we know all the zoning regs and we're going to be within that. Things like what Ken brought up, make sure that the parking's set back properly from the lot lines and all of that stuff.
So the answer to Alan's question is, you basically have a category here, but we'll just keep sliding it back to it ends up being in the right spot. But you're just carrying it for us for information that we know.
Yeah, some of this is initial discussions about that process.
Okay,
But yeah, we'll time that appropriately to make sure that we're engaging with those boards and commissions at the right time.
Now, we have made some changes, some kind of significant changes, which have affected the size of the building and also the cost. And we don't feel that we need to go to them about that.
I talk to the building inspector all the time. So I've shown him this stuff and whatnot, but it's a pattern that they use that should be used, even though I have to be careful what I say here. I'm the vice chair of the planning board. I think I told you that. I also tend to be the one that's the deepest thinker as far as what's right and what's wrong on a lot of the drawings because of my experience. So I can pretty much assure you that before we go to the planning board, we will have a set of documents should work, because we have a great piece of land and it's plenty of room. We're gonna cover drainage and everything else, the stormwater and all that stuff, so we'll be in good shape there. We don't have any conservation issues, I mentioned that before.
Yeah, you did.
One thing I got to to tell you, add to the working group minutes, is the Evans Enterprise Commission article for overlay district, is that what it's called then? They have to add that to their notes. So
Yes.
there's one little permit that we have to go to Devon's for.
Yep.
And we can probably do that in the process of talking about everything else with the people at Devon's.
I'm going to have to sign off. Dan's going to stay on to make sure that all the questions are answered. But I have a high school play that I have to go to see a couple young kids playing. They've already started, but I'm not worried about missing the beginning. But
Ian,
Yeah, really.
You're just gonna see the kids you wanna see, the rest is irrelevant.
I'm supposed to take pictures.
Oh, good luck.
all right,
See you
thanks.
later. Thank you.
Sorry, did I say a non-truth?
Okay,
So I think the answer to your question is we won't be approaching those boards this early in the process.
Okay.
You carrying.
I just,
This was this slide that we brought forward from our last meeting, so that may be updated.
We won't approach the boards until town meeting approves gives the go-ahead, because otherwise there's no real reason to see any of these
Because
boards.
it's a small town, everyone is engaged at this point already, watching our progress and paying attention. And we go to the select board and make a report to them periodically. So, people have been watching and they know what's going on, pretty much. And
Sorry. Can I just ask a question? I know the design, is this the final design update, the last changes, or is this gonna be ongoing? I know we decreased the size a little bit and I'm just trying to, I'm getting back up to speed on what was eliminated, and was the equipment lending room still in the plan or was that eliminated?
That's eliminated.
But isn't that a huge need?
It's been
It's been
made
downsized.
somewhat smaller.
But it's still on here?
Yeah, there's an external.
The external
Yes,
storage?
the external storage, near the pantry, kitchen area, the back.
Yeah.
corner. Yep.
And is that large enough to accommodate what we believe the needs are gonna be?
It's somewhat small, it's somewhat smaller than the original design,
Mhm.
but I think Dan and John felt that it was adequate to meet the need. I mean,
We
they,
really won't know how the size that we're really gonna need till we see what is donated and what people actually are looking for.
Yeah,
Bigger is always better, but I'm sure if worst comes to worst, we can hit up Morris and say, hey, can you donate a 12x12 storage shed that we'll put, or 10x12 and put it out back, and we'll put stuff in there and then move it into the room where we need to push it out.
I mean, I think that's really gonna come down to who ends up wanting to facilitate that program. Because as a senior center director, I'm only interested in the things that are most needed and that I can verify with my skills that are in good working condition. When we originally were talking about this, the Disabilities Commission really wanted to take the lead on it, and they wanted to be able to have electric devices and things that were going to serve much more than just the standard walkers, wheelchairs, potty chairs, canes, sort of thing that the typical senior center covers. So I think it's really gonna, this space is certainly adequate for what a typical senior center will do. It's just a matter of whether the Disabilities Commission decides they want, when you guys reorganize, if you want to take that, then I'm not sure it's gonna be adequate for that.
And is outdoor space appropriate for what the needs they might want for equipment?
And
It's a little.
technically, it won't be, we're gonna get into serious issues, but what I'm figuring is if we have to put it in the storage shed, and then when it comes time that somebody says, hey, I need this, then we can move it to the inside of the building, and that's where it will be distributed from, so we don't have to get into it's ADA compliant, so we don't have to have the ramps coming in. We can just have a storage shed, and then those of us that work it can bring it in the building, get it situated, and then issue it from inside the building to whoever it's going to, is what I'm thinking is gonna happen long term. Because we're not gonna have the room inside the building, but in order to put up a structure that would be 100% ADA compliant after the building is built would be prohibitively costly.
You know, I would be opposed to a storage shed like out back. You know, I mean, we're building this nice building with, you know, walkway around it and, you know, we wanna maintain the aesthetics of it. And, you know, a storage shed is it just sort of doesn't fit.
Well, if we put the storage set up, we would match it to the structure of the building. It wouldn't just be thrown in. We would get the same siding, the same roof material, the same corner beads. So it would look like it was an equipment storage, like if you were storing at your house, if you were gonna store your snow blower outside and your lawn equipment, that's basically what it would look like.
We have seen it other
Yeah.
walks that we took and places we visited.
Several
many
other-
places that are exterior storage,
which
with
they,
sheds for their.
for their equipment
the
and
lawn-
stuff like
lawn
that.
equipment,
Many
chairs
of
and
them. They were nice storage,
Patio furniture and whatever.
but, you know, they did have, they weren't really
worried
eyesores or
about-
anything.
I'd be
I'm
concerned
gonna
about.
put you in charge of the selection of the architecture. You don't have to worry. You're right there.
How does
Yeah.
Dan do with storage?
I'm going back to
We'll
the
take-
answer.
We'll make sure that they have extra materials from the site and say, hey, we need to make sure you have an extra enough leftover for this that you put in a pile.
So, and I really would see that as a separate, if it's not gonna be in the building, it's gonna be a separate capital request at some point down the road where it's never gonna come in under the dollar value of the capital request. So, again, from the senior center's perspective, Dan Arts, I'm just confirming that outside room is like 10 by 10. That will be plenty of space for walkers, wheelchairs, canes, potty chairs, that sort of thing. And then if the Disabilities Commission wants to put a warrant article forward for a building to meet a much more sophisticated set of needs, which I think would be incredible, I would see those as two separate projects. I'm sorry, I didn't run that by you first. I was like surprised, but yeah, I wouldn't see that as then a senior center function at that point. I think it's great if we could have rolled it in from the get-go, and I'm bummed to see it not be there in that capacity, but if it's not, then it would be separate.
I want to make a quick comment on that too, for your benefit. So part of what we did here was we simplified the building by taking out, you know, jogs and stuff. Well, I think we left it open. I don't know if we all remember this. Because of the way this is framed with the pantry right next to it in the kitchen, as we got to the sizing of the pantry and the kitchen, it's a possibility that that wall for both storage rooms could move further and make those rooms bigger.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
as part of our planning, we're gonna look at the size of that pantry, and therefore we could increase the store, or the other rooms as well. So because we haven't finalized how big is this kitchen, how many appliances are in it, and how big is that pantry, but there's still an opportunity to make the room bigger, is what I'm getting at.
I got to walk through a walk-in fridge and freezer at the expo a couple of weeks ago, and that was really cool. I mean, I'm not saying we're gonna get that. I'm just putting it on record. It was cool.
You can't walk in with that straight up. I'm going to go back to the site plan before we're done tonight with Dan Arts.
I have a
Just to let you
question. Dan Hart, I've asked a couple of times about the generator, which I've heard is huge. And I'm just looking at this site plan and wondering, it's still not on here, and I'm wondering where it would go.
So yeah, no, I was thinking about that the other day myself, and part of me likes to keep it over with all the tucked away in the corner by like service stuff. So probably I was thinking probably over by the if we're looking at the plans, the bottom left corner over by the pantry. That would probably be my plans to put it there. With this whole, the site being a little bit off, that's gonna be definitely something I'm gonna be working on next week, definitely.
How big is it comparatively to other things on
I'm a
here?
big fan of the fence around.
They're probably about like, I wanna say maybe like 8 feet by like 12 feet, somewhere around that.
Is it the size of the pickleball courts?
No, oh God, no, 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 no.
It's only 8, but it's bigger than.
It's about
bigger than
trailer.
this table.
It's
It
about
could-
2/3 the size of one of these parking spaces.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's not
It's a good
bad.
Yeah,
analysis.
no, I would,
Yeah. I'd call it as big as a parking space, just to.
It has a
Yeah.
concrete pad that it's sitting on, call it about the size of a parking space.
All right,
Yeah.
that's not.
It's
that's
gonna be
good.
elevated, it's just sit on the pad.
Yeah, it's gonna be sitting, it's gonna, and I haven't seen your detail for it, Dan, but it's probably gonna be sitting on a housekeeping pad
Yep.
that's,
That's correct.
yes, and it's probably gonna have, depending on where you site it, it may have bollards around it just to
Yeah.
armor it.
That stone around it,
Yeah.
all is it all the fence.
Can you
Got me on-
Hopefully
Okay,
soon.
so when we go back to the,
Okay,
we're back to, and I like to refer to it as AO1, which is what it is, the name, the plan name.
Parking lot?
This one, right. So this is what, me looking at this in for 3 minutes. My major question is, why haven't we just got the building in the same relation to the angle of the lot? Why are we not lining up the building exactly parallel with the street? And the whole plan just turns counterclockwise.
oh, the reason I did, we could do that, but the reason I kind of did that was because you
And then
have,
take the pickleball court and put it behind the
Yes.
parking, the building or something. Just pull the whole thing counterclockwise.
well, it sounds like you got it. No, yeah, I was definitely gonna get into that kind of stuff. We also have that large hill behind us, so I was trying to get it to work with that hill, not necessarily using that street as a guideline. But yes, no, I could take a look at
Yeah.
that.
I think it would look weird to not have it, the building lined up parallel to the street.
Oh, no, you, honestly, you'll never know it unless you're you're flying by. You'll never really notice.
I know by looking at the plan, so that's enough for me.
Yeah, exactly. We're looking at the plan.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing and kind of thinking more about it. We were talking earlier about this, with permitting with natural heritage, the more we encroach toward the existing brush dump, that's more of habitat for the blanding turtle. So that's actually less advantageous for us. So the more we could work into the existing configuration, the better.
Yeah. Like I said earlier multiple times tonight, that next week I am definitely looking at this. This is something that came up earlier this week. I haven't got a chance to fully address it.
And, okay, can you move I don't know how much space, where you have that, sort of greenery there on the roadside screening? I mean, can everything be moved closer to Bishop Road, 10 or 15 feet? I don't know what the scale is there,
What?
and then made parallel.
You want to keep you want that barrier there, Dennis.
Well, yes, but does it have to be, I mean, if you say 5 or 10 feet there,
Yeah.
how much do we need, how much do you need to stay?
I
within-
again want, excuse me, I again want to again want to state that the building was placed onto this lot without us having actual plot lines. These plot lines are new, so yes, there's going to be some adjustments, and that's something we're going to be working out.
Okay, good, thank you.
You might gain parking if you shift it.
Yeah.
This is pretty much it.
I take the 2 pickleball courts and put them.
Everyone's you're overthinking it a bit right now. Don't worry about it.
Give him another chance.
All right.
Go with the planning board easement for pickleball courts.
Excuse me?
What's the planning board easement for?
Easement?
For pickleball court?
You don't need 10.
Oh, setbacks?
Well, setback's 10. Well, general
Your
residential.
side
is
yard
10
setback,
Side
right?
yard setback is 10 feet in general residential.
The only way, let me give it to you this way. The only way this can get screwed up. Okay, is if they put something on there that does require us to go to the zoning board of appeals for a change or something like that, which we do not want to do. So we have plenty of time to make.
What about the noise from the pickleball for
Well, that's good.
disturbing the landing turf.
That's a possibility.
Could be disturbing the dead people.
We might have to have another consultant for that. There's a consultant working on that.
Yep,
The pickleball courts, let's remember, the pickleball courts is an alternate, right?
Yeah.
It's not.
No, it's being paid by the,
Well, no,
Right, but it's still
Okay,
that
but
alternate.
well, there's a
The base
verbal
price.
understanding.
The base price doesn't include the pickleball.
that's right.
It's an add-on,
okay,
so. It would be, you know, you can demonstrate it as a location on the site plan is what I'm getting at. Not necessarily that it's a built-out environment. But, yeah, you're gonna, when you build a pickleball court, the engineer's gonna have to consider that for stormwater drainage. Anything that's impervious, gonna have to, although it's gonna come into the equation, but. There's plenty of it. Cool.
Okay. Anything else? All right, can I get a motion to adjourn then,
Motion to adjourn.
right?
No
Okay.
trouble. That's been fine.
I,
Aye.
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 Need to go left or.
Chair says aye, we are adjourned at
Yeah, go left or
7:08
no.
PM.